This is the Renault Austral, not to be confused with Australe, as the badging on the rear might suggest. And it's Renault's answer to A, the most popular car segment currently in the UK, and B, to those who aren't quite ready or interested in going fully EV yet. It's a hybrid that promises all the perks without the faff. Quite literally, they promise the EV driving perks without ever plugging it in. The perfect family SUV then, for the busy family. This right here is our current family car, and this could be a potential replacement. Now, we wanted to put the practicality to the test, so we brought along the buggy and the car seat, and we're going to see how well the Austral does with space and general practicality.
The Austral has a powered boot and boasts an impressive 555 litre boot space with the seats in their natural position. With no large batteries taking up the additional space, the depth of the boot is decent too, with small pockets of storage under the boot lid.
And you can still move the seats forward if you did need some additional space, but there's lots of little pockets of space still left for bags and odd bits and bobs.
Next, it was time to move the child seat into our Austral, which we had for a week loan. The door opened up wide, and the opening allowed a quite large seat to squeeze in comfortably. The Isofix anchors hide behind a couple of plastic protectors, and other than the fact that one of the points is a little too close to the belt buckle, it was easy and comfortable to install. Special thanks to Renault and Enfield for this particular car.
Right, let's talk interior design and functionality and practicality. The first thing that pops into mind, and just bear with me because this is a thing, is the footwell and just how much space there is down there. When you want to stretch your legs on a long drive and you want to rest your left leg, there's a nice little post that you can rest it up against. You see, in the GLC, the center console is very girthy. In fact, I'm not allowed to say girthy anymore. Hey Google, what's another word for girth?
Circumference, diameter, radius, equator.
Let's go with radius. The radius on the center console in the GLC is quite substantial, so it eats away at the space where you would have your left leg, whereas in this, I mean, you can stretch your legs wide enough to give birth. The screen here, well, first things first. Instantly better. The screen, very responsive and very sharp. We like that. We're just going to clear all these messages. So let's start off with the menu here on the top. We've got the car picture. So when you press that, you're presented with the multi-sense functionality, which is a little button that's found on the steering wheel as well. This is our different driving modes, which we'll get to a little bit later on in the video. But just to give you a bit of an idea in terms of what you have here, you've got an electric menu to see what the electric battery in the engine is doing. You can adjust your seats. You've got two memory functions here for you and someone else that might be driving the car regularly. For the driver, you do get a massaging feature as well. You've got relaxing, dynamic, and the intensity. You can set different parameters, air quality, air purifier. So if you're driving through central London or you're going through a tunnel, anything like that, you can put the air purifier on. Driving Eco tells you how efficiently you've been driving. I've been averaging 36.4, and to be fair, since I've had the car, it's been very start-stop, so that's not actually too bad. Driving assistance, you've got blind spot warning, lane departure warning, late departure prevention, lane keeping assist, all that kind of stuff. In the vehicle menu, you've got your wipers, your driving lights. If you do take the car abroad and driving in Europe, you can switch the dipped beam to face the right. Matrix vision. At night, the lights will shine onto areas where there's not much illumination. You've got access, auto door lock when driving, hands-free lock and unlock. So this is the Renault key, which looks a bit like that. So as long as that's in your pocket, you just walk up to the car and it will unlock, and when you walk away from the car, it will lock as well. Welcome lights. And once it's set up, it's very rare that you'll want to go this deep into the menu system and play around with them. It may take you a little bit of time to adjust everything how you like, but once it's done, it will memorize everything, so you don't have to keep adjusting anything. Tire pressures, but best of all, you've got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You've got various apps that you can use here. So you can stream your music via Bluetooth and USB, and you can have Google Podcasts and of course the radio as well. And if you didn't want to use Apple CarPlay, you do have the built-in satellite navigation that Renault provide. As you can see, it's very responsive, very sharp, very quick. It seems pretty intuitive. As it's powered by Google, chances are that it's going to work pretty well. For example, hey Google, navigate to the nearest Renault service centre.
Sure, Renault Enfield 12 miles away.
There you go. The center console here is a clever bit of design. This grip here moves backwards and forwards. When you have it all the way back, you've got 2 cup holders, a couple of USB charging points and a 12-volt socket. And then down here, you've got a little bit of storage as well. But most of all, I like the fact that the wireless charge pad is on this arm here. So you just place your phone there. It's a nice snug fit. And then when you do move it around, you don't have to move your phone. I like that, clever bit of design. And in here, you've got a little bit of storage space as well. One of my favorite features is the air conditioning unit, which is physical buttons, and it lives just below the screen down here, along with your hazard lights and your door lock and unlock. You do have some commands on the screen. For example, if you want to switch your heated steering wheel on and off, your heated seats on and off, you can do that via the touchscreen. Good work, Renault.
Enough of the interior. Let's go for a drive.
Now let's talk about some of the good stuff, some of the stuff that we like. Under the bonnet, 200 brake horsepower, and it feels every bit. The acceleration, the way it gathers speed, is not only rather quite pokey, but actually quite fun. It's plenty enough to get you out those sticky little situations or roundabouts when you really need some go. 0 to 60 comes up in about 8 seconds and is powered by a 1.2 litre turbocharged engine. And it's clever too, the combustion engine gets electrical assistance for maximum power and efficiency. Considering it's only a 3-cylinder engine, it's very light on its toes. There are a couple of infographics to tell you what's going on with the car. So for example, if the battery is driving the motor, which is driving the wheels, it tells you if you are regenerating some power and putting that back into the battery. It tells you when the engine kicks in. So you can kind of see what's going on underneath the car. The relationship between the combustion engine and the electric motor work in perfect harmony. When you put your foot down, there isn't a lot of negotiating between the motor and the engine to see who's going to take charge. As in, when it needs the electric motor, it kicks in. If the engine needs to intervene, it does that too, pretty seamlessly. You will at times hear the engine come into life, and that's just because at times the engine does need to kick in to put power back into the battery. And all that stuff that's happening behind the scenes under the bonnet is all designed to give you the most efficient drive as possible. And the best part about all of that is that you don't need to do a thing. You get in the car, you put it into gear, and you just simply drive. There's no plugging in, there's no charging, there's no thing that you have to do in order to get the best possible efficiency out of the car.
The multi-sense button does allow you to scroll through a few driving modes if you do want to have your own input. These include Comfort, Eco, Sport, and what I can only assume is short for Personal.
Self-charging cars are nothing new. They've been around for a little while, but they're not as widespread as you might think. The GLE that I had, for example, in order to get the efficiency, or anywhere near the efficiency that it claimed it could achieve, I had to plug it in. It never had the self-charging capability that this does. Now, the problem for me was I live in a terraced property, so I can't have a charge point fitted in my house. So any time that I ran out of charge, I had a 2-litre GLE, which was just heavier than a standard 2-litre diesel, so it became less efficient than a normal diesel engine.
If, like me, you live in an area where you may not have regular access to charge points, or you fear with a busy lifestyle that charging may be a hindrance to you, a hybrid not only becomes a viable option to run, but a nice stepping stone into the world of EV, should you want to go full EV in the future.
So you can drive the Austral as a fully combustion engined car, as a full EV, and a hybrid. Best of all worlds. I don't know why I did that. So how does the Austral recharge its batteries? Through deceleration and braking. And while we're on the subject of braking, although it won't take you very long, it is something that's going to take a little bit of getting used to, because with conventional cars there's a lot of feedback when you press the brake, and you can regulate it yourself depending on how quickly you need to stop. Whereas in this, it uses some of your braking to regenerate power back into the battery, what would otherwise be lost when you're slowing down or coming to a complete stop, to be able to redeploy further down the road. Literally.
If you've driven an EV or a hybrid before, you'll be familiar with the spongy feel of the brake pedal. The pad to disc doesn't happen until later on in the stage of stopping to harness every drop of energy during braking.
But once you've driven for a couple of hours, you get used to it. Renault claim 40% less fuel as a result. I don't know if I can vouch for that. I don't know how they got to that number. However, Renault also claim very crisp and responsive acceleration, which I can vouch for. Now, I'm not the most technical person, so I don't want to bore you any further with the technical hybrid electric stuff. So to summarize, here are a few of the takeaways. Add fuel, no need to plug in to charge, reap the benefits of EV driving. I've just discovered this mirror here. This is a bit of storage for your sunglasses, but when you close it halfway and let it go, it stays half open, and then you've got this 180-degree panoramic mirror, which I can only assume is to watch the kids in the back. This particular one is the Techno Spirit Alpine model, which has been loaned to us by Renault Retail Group in Enfield and Romford. So if you have any questions about this car or any car in the Renault lineup, I'll leave their contact details in the description box down below. So if you want to organise a test drive, make sure you give them a call. This mid-range spec costs around £36,700, and it excludes the panoramic glass sunroof, the 360 camera, Harman Kardon surround sound system, and the four-wheel steer that you get on the range-topping model. But even without those, I think this particular one presents itself as a very good value for money. The Techno still comes with heads-up display, radar-guided cruise control, powered boot, lane keeping assist, blind spot warning, matrix LED headlights, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, folding mirrors, parking sensors, massaging seat on the driver's side. It has 2 USB ports up front and 2 at the back to keep the kids busy with their iPads and electrical devices, heated seats and steering wheel, and ambient lighting as part of the standard and optional equipment. And the children can have hours and hours of fun thanks to the Google Assistant. Hey Google, tell me a joke.
A bit of silliness coming right up. Why did the toilet paper jump off the building? To quickly get to the bottom. Can a kangaroo jump higher than a house? Of course. Houses can't jump. How do you say goodbye to a vampire? So long, sucker.
Seating position is very comfortable, visibility is good all around the car, and the side view mirrors are nice and large, again providing maximum visibility. Something else that's definitely worth mentioning that the Austral offers is the ride quality, and it really isn't something that I was expecting, because it's not just good, it's very good. Although it doesn't have anything like air suspension, I think the additional weight of the batteries has actually helped create a very supple ride, and it does very well at keeping the potholes and the nasty cracks on the road out of the cabin, which coming out of the winter months there is a lot of.
Even my creative eggs were very happy.
So ride is good, the tech's good, Apple CarPlay good, looks good, equipment levels are good. So is there anything that I don't like? A few. Firstly, the reversing camera. It looks like it's been taken off an old Nokia phone, because A, it's tiny relative to the screen, it's exposed, so it's really not going to take long for it to get covered in mud and render it useless, and it's just not very clear. It's quite pixelated. By today's standards, could do a bit better. Excessive use of stalks. Yeah, just the bottom one's got to go. And I'm not entirely sold on this multi-sense button. I'm not experiencing a great difference in the driving modes. For example, there's a sport mode. This is a 3-cylinder hybrid mid-size family SUV. I don't think it needs a sport mode. I think that could have been put to better use perhaps. And lastly, leather seats. I think this car is going to appeal to people with young families, perhaps young kids in the back. Cloth seats are going to be a nightmare. So put fake leather, put vegan leather, just put something that's going to do much better at keeping milk, food and other bodily fluids out of the clothwork in the seats. I think that will just elevate the Austral to a much more premium feeling car, even if not a premium car. But relatively speaking, those are just very nitpicky, niggly little things. For the most part, I think the clientele for this car will be quite pleased with what you get for your money, not just in terms of standard equipment and options, but overall refinement, practicality in use. Now the website states that you should be able to get about 60 miles to the gallon with a little asterisk, and I've been doing a lot of stop starting driving and I'm getting 38.4 at the moment, which in town driving that really isn't bad at all. I'm sure on the motorway that might creep up a little bit as well.
After a longer stretch of road, it didn't take long to get excess of 40 to the gallon. I'm confident it still had more to give, although in town I think just under 40 is probably realistic. The Austral may be in a popular segment, but that brings its own problems. Competition, and lots of it. Peugeot, Skoda, Kia, Ford, Nissan, Hyundai all offer similar cars with a few differences. However, Renault, in my opinion, have taken the Austral seriously. If you told me that Renault were going to offer you heads-up display, self-charging or massaging seats in a car 10 years ago, I may have raised an eyebrow. But that's what electrification has brought. It's leveled the playing field, it's brought good competition, and the real benefactors are, well, you.
So there you have it. That is the Renault Austral E-Tech. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it informative, useful, or at least entertaining. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you haven't. Give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. And if you have any questions for me, jot them in the comment section down below and I'll do my best to answer. See you in the next one.